The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler, May 22nd, Saint Humility. The founder of the Sisters of Vallombrosa was born in Faenza, Romagna, in 1226. Her parents, who were rich and noble, gave her the name Rosana because they had family in the town of the same name. But in history she is known by the name of Humility, which she took when she entered religion. When she was 15 years old, her parents forced her to marry a nobleman of the region named Ugoletto. He was as frivolous as his young wife was devout. Rosana had the misfortune of losing her 2 children shortly after being baptized. For 9 years she tried her best to win her husband's love, but to no avail. At the end of that period, Ugoletto contracted an illness that brought him to death's door. When he regained his health, the doctors advised him to live with his wife as a brother from now on. Shortly thereafter, both entered the twin monasteries of Santa Perpetua, outside Faenza, Ugoletto as a lay brother, and Rosana as a choir sister. Humility was then 24 years old. She soon realized that life in that community was not as solitary and austere as she had wished, so she withdrew first to a convent of Poor Clares and then to a cell built for her by a relative, whom she had cured of a painful foot disease. The cell was located next to the church of St. Apollinaris. Saint Humility could follow Mass and receive communion through a small window. It seems that this church was attended by some religious who depended on the abbey of St. Crispin of Vallombrosa. In accordance with the customary ceremonial, the abbot of St. Crispin attended the solemn enclosure of Saint Humility. From then on, the saint led a life of heroic mortification. She ate only bread and a few vegetables from time to time. She wore a sackcloth of bristles, and the night hours that she stole from sleep, she spent kneeling facing the wall. Saint Humility had refused to see her husband again after the separation, but he could not forget her, and to be near her, he entered the abbey of St. Crispin, where he died 3 years later. When Humility had already been in seclusion for 12 years, the abbot of Vallombrosa convinced her to leave her retreat to found a convent for women. Saint Humility then founded, outside the walls of Faenza, in a place called Malta, the first convent of nuns of Vallombrosa. This convent was called Santa Maria Novella della Malta. Humility was the first abbess. Much later, in 1501, the nuns had to move, for security reasons, to the site formerly occupied by the monastery of Santa Perpetua. Shortly before her death, Saint Humility founded another convent in Florence, of which she was also abbess. She died there, at the age of 80, on May 22, 1310. Tradition attributes several treatises to Saint Humility. It is said that she dictated them in Latin, although she had never studied that language. One of the treatises deals with angels, and the saint says that she had lived in constant communication with 2 heavenly spirits, one of whom was her guardian angel.